This breathing technique has been studied by Stanford scientists, and it has been observed in pretty much all mammals. And it's a fantastic way to relax and enhance your parasympathetic nervous system activity. That's the rest and digest side of things. The exercise is pretty simple. It's a double inhalation to pause with a long, slow exhalation with a hold at the end. Now, the hold at the end of the exhalation was not the way that it was studied at Stanford or seen in other mammals, but I'm going to add that in for us to get a little bit of breath holding involved today. So to break that down more specifically, the double inhale. We're breathing in and out through our nose, and we're going to inhale what feels to be about 3/4 of our maximum breath volume. Pause, and then finish out the breath with an extra little sip, and then a long, slow exhale. And I want you to add a breath hold at the bottom of the exhale for anywhere between 3 and 5 seconds. I'm going to recap that one more time because we're all going to do this at our own pace instead of following my cueing. So inhale, pause, extra inhale, pause, long, slow exhale, going for anywhere between 5 and 10 seconds on the exhale, and then hold your breath for 3 to 5 seconds, whatever is comfortable for you. All right, I'm going to give us all 2 minutes to work on this pattern. Just about 1 more minute. Go for one more breath, one more round. When you're finished, we're going to grab a couple objects, be it tennis balls, lacrosse balls, or yoga blocks, so that we can have something to squeeze in our fists slightly. We're going to begin with neck cars and scapular variations. Now, for all of our cars today, we're going to work on cars done for time instead of for a certain number of reps, so that you can just stay focused on what you feel moving at that joint. So give the objects a light squeeze and reach your shoulders and hands down for the floor. With your jaw shut, slowly begin neck cars, bringing the chin to the chest first. Keep it low to your chest as you rotate to one shoulder, as if you're looking into your back pocket. From there, tip your ear back, so your chin starts to rise, and draw that circle high across the ceiling, over to the other side. On this side, you also want to try to dip and look into the back pocket before bringing the chin across the collarbones. Keep going in this direction. I'll let you know when we're going to change directions. Try to maintain a light squeeze in the objects in your hands, and continue a light effort to reach down. When you finish the rep that you're working on, switch directions. We'll do about 30 more seconds in the opposite direction. You got time for one more rep, and then we're going to move along. For our next movement, we'll be doing scapula cars one at a time with a bias for a neck stretch. So if we do a one half neck car over to one side, we'll all probably notice a point where we feel this line of stretch that runs from the base of our skull down into the top of our shoulder and shoulder blade. Where exactly is going to be different from person to person, but I want you to place your head in that position where you do feel a gentle stretch there. Take a moment to feel this position because I want your head to stay exactly where it is now. Then, if you're looking to your left, we're going to be doing the right shoulder car or scapula car. So I'm looking to my left, my right shoulder blade over here is going to circle around. And we're going to go for time, scapula cars for about 20 seconds in either direction. Do your best to keep your head and neck in the same position. And you'll notice the degree of stretch will change as you circle your shoulder blade around. Feel free to make subtle adjustments to your head position in order to optimize the way the stretch feels. Finish out the rep that you're currently working on, and then change directions on that shoulder blade. Give it one more round. And when you finish that side, we're going to explore the same idea on the opposite side. Keep in mind, your neck may not feel the same way, left to right, so you may end up in a slightly different head position over here. So my head is turned to the right, and I find a left side stretch that runs from my skull to my shoulder. I'm going to freeze position, squeeze my fist on that side, and circle my shoulder blade around. As your shoulder shrugs up, you'll notice the stretch kind of fades away, and then as you reach the shoulder down, you'll re-engage that stretch. The muscles that are stretching here cross between the head, neck, and shoulder blade. So we're looking to observe how changing the shoulder blade position changes the line of tension. Finish out the rep you're working on, and then change directions. Give it a couple more rounds. And when you're all set, you can place your objects aside. Next up, we're going to be doing a Jefferson curl with breathing in the bottom and then reaching and breathing in the top. Let me show you a quick rep and then you can join me. So recall the Jefferson curl is a segmental movement of the spine and the hips. So you can feel free to use your hands on your body to enhance your accuracy and feedback, but we will segmentally flex the spine from top down, and then we'll allow the hips to flex, and we're going to hang and fold in half. In this position, you're going to try to breathe into your lower and middle back, compressing yourself lower during your exhalation. Then reverse the process, pelvis, low back, mid back, upper back, and at the top here, we're going to reach our arms way overhead, try to stretch ourselves out as tall as we can, and take another breath up here. Let's do this for about a minute. Other than experiencing gentle stretching at the bottom and the top, Your main objective with this movement is to create segmented spine motion. So be attentive and deliberate to the way you're getting down and up. You have time for one more rep, or if you're just starting a rep, finish the rep that you're working on. Moving along, we're going to stretch into the sides of our body while doing shoulder cars. So the stance is going to be a moderate middle split. So I'm going to have you spread your legs. Make sure when you do this that we don't bend the here or here. So we want to stay straight up and down. The distance apart with your stance should be wide, but not so wide that you really feel a stretch at all. Maybe if you just were to spread a little farther, you would start feeling a stretch, but in this position, not much stretching is happening. From here, stay in a side-to-side plane without shifting your body forwards or backwards. And we're going to take your right hand, my left. We're going to reach down one leg. We're going to start to feel a stretch on the inner thigh or groin on this leg. And then when we feel like we're about as low as we safely can go, I want you to have support from this arm. So rest it on your leg to give yourself some support. We're going to freeze the body in this position and work on shoulder cars over here. So make a fist and turn your palm forward, bring it across your body, and just like our other cars, we're going for time. So don't worry about going at a certain speed, just focus on feeling your shoulder. Hopefully you notice a little extra side body stretching with this position of shoulder cars. That said, you're still trying to draw the biggest circle you can, so even though you won't be able to get your bicep all the way to your ear, pull that way to get into that side body stretch. We'll be doing these for about a minute. We got about 40 seconds to go. Remember, within the circle that we're tracing with our hand, we're always trying to rotate the arm one way or the other. So right here, as I switch, I'm rotating externally, like I'm pointing my thumb behind me. And that external rotation remains as I cross my face. It's still going even here, trying to turn my arm outwards. It's once I hit this block here that I switch into internal rotation, and that effort will be applied for the remainder of the rep. This will be our last rep on this side. After this, we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So bring yourself out of this side bend. If you feel any pinching at your back, you probably bent a little too far. And so make an adjustment on this side. Reaching down over here. You want to stay in a safe range, so if you had any discomfort on the other side, you're going to come up a little taller on this side. Stay within your capacities. Squeeze your fist, rotate your arm out. Let's go for another minute of shoulder cars. You don't have to stay pace with me. Work at your own speed and try to make all sections of the car the same speed. We're about halfway through. Double check that you're still just bending to the side. It can be easy to inadvertently shift your chest forwards or backwards while doing this. You got about 15 seconds left in the minute. Just enough time to finish out this shoulder car. All right. We'll do one more exercise standing up. That's going to be some good old spine cars. So grab yourself a couple of yoga blocks. We're going to use the yoga blocks as a way to create tension in our upper body during spine cars. So I suggest stacking them together like this, keeping them horizontal and bringing them high in your chest so they're like right at your collarbones. And then we're going to take our arms, make an X shape with fists here. Now hopefully the blocks are high enough so you can rest your chin on them. And if they're not, bring them a little higher. I do like them horizontally, not vertically, because it will interfere less with the ability to flex the spine. Now if you squeeze your fists, squeeze the arms into the blocks, and keep your chin resting on them, we'll have a good constraint for the neck, because we don't want the neck to change position during our spine cars. From here, we have to create tension in our lower body. So I want you to root your feet to the floor, flex your thighs, and squeeze your butt. Picture standing in concrete. You're stuck from here down. While keeping all the lower body in place, just like a Jefferson curl, we're going to segmentally flex our spine. So viewed from the side, you'll see me flex top down. Keep your butt squeezed here. If you let your glutes go, then you're probably moving in your hips. When you're in the end range of flexion, you're going to turn to one side. When you get stuck, check your belt buckle. It should still be pointing forwards where we left it. Then drop your shoulder down on that side so you move into a side bend. From a side bend, stay in safe ranges of motion as you pull your belly button back and lift the yoga blocks toward the ceiling, arching your spine. From the arch, we're going to side bend to the opposite side before turning to that side, as if we're going to look down that leg, but be very careful of your belt here, keep it in position, and then flex, rounding your spine, bringing your chin back towards your belt buckle. Your pelvis should still be pointing in the same direction that you started. Uncurl and stand up. We'll do one more rep the opposite way. Try to pick a phase of the car that you know that could use a little bit of work and slow down and stay focused there. Squeeze your butt and flex your spine. When you can't go any lower, keep your butt squeezed, rotate. When you can't rotate anymore, drop the shoulder down and side bend. Circle your base of neck back behind you, arching your back and lifting the blocks to the sky. And then side bend the opposite way. And when you're stuck here, pelvis has to be steady as we rotate to look down that leg and then flex forward, coming back to the front again. When you're centered out, we're going to segmentally stand up. We'll be coming back to spine cars a little later. Let's set those blocks aside. Next, we're going to move down into our hips. And, with hips, ball and socket joint, we want to get them rotating first. So we're going to utilize the 90-90 base for this today. So, come on down to the floor. And if you can, and it's workable for you, I'd like you to mirror me so that your right leg is forward and your left leg is to the side. Just going to make it easier to follow along. So we're going to first work on internal hip rotation on both sides. So we'll be working this leg as our trailing leg, then we'll switch to the opposite 90-90 and repeat on the opposite side. So first thing we're going to do is just practice finding a passive stretch. So we take our left butt cheek and try to sit it into the floor while also turning our belt and belly button toward that knee or thigh. We're hopefully going to feel something deep in the hip around the outside here. If you feel knee discomfort, you're going to want to point your toe or bend your knee a little bit more to reduce any twisting pain there. And then we're just going to rock forward away from this position. So if you rock back, and the goal for the next minute is just to rock into the stretch and out of the stretch, making subtle changes to the way you go in and out to experiment with different stretches. One easy thing you can experiment with is a different level of pelvic tilt. If your belt buckle is tipped slightly up or slightly down, the stretch is going to feel different as you rock back into it. We're not really working on front hip stretch right now. So if you're moving all the way across, don't worry about that yet, we'll get there. We're just working on getting into and out of the back hip. If you haven't yet, try tipping the belt buckle one way or the other and see if it makes a difference to the amount of stretch you feel. We will be settling into a stretch and holding it in the next 15 seconds or so. So try to find that level of pelvic tilt that works the best for you. All right, when you're ready, settle into the stretch and hang out. Let's take a couple breaths and imagine our hips softening, allowing that stretch to increase slightly. But we still want to be in safe and moderate intensities of stretch. Now we're going to pails and rails in this position. So our left thigh is the axis around which we're going to create rotational efforts. The pails effort in this position is an attempt to rotate your thigh backwards, which will start putting pressure down at your foot. The following effort, the rails effort, is an attempt to rotate your thigh forwards, which will make your foot feel lighter on the floor. Let's give it a shot. Breathe in from your current position, create some body tension, and begin pushing your back foot down very lightly, 10%. Gradually ramp up. Try to find something moderate, like 50 or 60% effort to push down. Hold this effort and observe what you feel. It should feel safe. If it doesn't, back down. Keep holding. Now, without moving your body or your pelvis or your leg, let's do the rails effort. Let's attempt to lift our foot by turning the thigh forward. Keep the effort moderate like before, about 50 or 60%, and look for that contraction in the side of your hip out here. It might feel crampy, and if it does, reduce your effort slightly. Hold steady, 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax your effort. If you're noticing cramping, pushing your foot down lightly and breathing might help it stop cramping. Assess the sensation of stretch, and if you feel all right, we're going to sit a little bit deeper. If you struggle a lot with the 90-90 position, you can sit on top of a yoga block under your forward hip, so under your right hip. That's going to help you get a little higher off the floor and make the whole position a little more accessible for you. We're going to do this 2 more times with slightly higher efforts on each rep. So we're still in our stretch. Breathe in, create tension, begin pushing your foot down. Build up, 20, 30, 40. Let's find something a little stronger this time, maybe around 60 or 70%. Hold steady. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to lift your foot, flexing these side hip muscles. Try to get that 60 to 70% or whatever effort you need to come down to so you don't cramp. 3, 2, 1, relax. All right, so now we'll be looking to go for passive range holds out of this position. So we're still in stretch. We're going to engage a rails effort, a lifting effort, and very slowly we're going to shift the pelvis away from the stretch until we can pry the back foot from the floor. And once you get that foot off the ground, we're going to hold it for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and set down. Now this is totally fine if you need to come over to your elbow here. You can still work through the same motion at the pelvis and just make it a little more comfortable for yourself. So let's do a few more of those. We're going to sit back into the stretch again. Breathe in and try to lift. Let that effort develop for a second or two. And then slowly shift the pelvis away until you can clear the floor and hold it 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and set down. Once you get off the floor with your foot, just keep a very low distance between your foot and the ground, just so that you have to stay at that exact spot. 2 left. Sit back into stretch. Try to lift, squeeze those muscles, shift away, clear the ground and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and set down. We're going to do this one more time. On this last one, once you're clear of the floor and I ask you to set your foot down, please keep your pelvis and torso in that exact position. We're going to do something else from there. Sit back. Try to lift. Build the effort. Shift and clear. Hold it 5, 4, 3, 2. Keep your body in position and let your foot go down. Without changing body position, we're going to lift this foot up again 10 more times. Lift, hold, down. Every time, try a little bit harder. Lift, and down. Lift, squeeze your fist, and down. Create upper body effort. Lift, down, lift, and down. 5 left. Lift, and down. Lift, and down. Lift, and down. I've lost count, so we're going to do 2 more. Lift, and down. Lift, and down. So that's the sequence for internal rotation on this hip. Before we switch sides, let's give our back a little bit of attention. So let's go to this forward leg, and we're going to kind of lean into a little bit of a stretch here, but not too intense. Primarily what we're going to try to do here is rotate the spine. So by bringing the belly button forward and the chest up, we should have a little bit of glute stretch on your right hip. I want you to keep your right hand planted as an anchor. Your left hand is going to reach under the right arm as if you're trying to reach as far behind you as you can. Be careful, don't be too forceful here. You can kind of wrench on your back. Breathe in the position of rotation, and then unwind and repeat. So the arm's going to start up and away back here, maybe a little stretch in the chest. And then we're going to bring the arm down and under. Now, we're going to do this about 3 more times, and I would like you to take the hand farther in each direction for the next few reps. Reach up and back, just keep the right hand planted, reach as far away as you can, stretch the chest, and then come underneath. Remember to add a breath here at the back as you've wound up your spine. Let's do a couple more. Big reach behind. Turn the thumb back, palm up here to get a little more out of the chest. And then reach underneath. When you get stuck reaching behind, take a breath. One more time. A reminder here, be gentle on your spine. Okay, let's go ahead and switch to the other hip. So we're just going to set up on the opposite 90-90 so that our left leg is forward and our right leg is to the side. Once again here, you could be sitting on a yoga block. Evan, if you're having trouble on the ground, feel free to sit on a chair with a block between your knees, as we talked about before. That's a great alternative to this position. So, for the rest of you, we're going to scan in and out of stretch. So working on the right hip, we're going to try to sit our right butt cheek into the floor, turn the belly button toward the knee, experience that stretch, and make sure we're not wrenching on our knee. If you do feel knee discomfort, remember pointing your toe or bending your knee more is a good option out of that. So, your objective for the next 30 seconds or so is to scan in and out of the stretch, adjusting the tilt of your pelvis, that is belt up or belt down slightly, to see how changing the pelvic tilt changes your sensation of stretch. Your goal is to find a stretch that is strong and deep without any pinching sensations. A reminder here, the stretch comes from shifting your pelvis. So while your chest and stomach might be turning too, it's really pelvic shift that's going to drive the stretch sensation. Find the stretch and then settle in. Breathe and try to relax, softening your hip. From here, we'll do a couple pails and rails. Take a breath in, tension in your body. Begin pushing your foot down ever so lightly, as if you're turning your thigh backwards. Build your effort up, ramping up to about 50 or 60%, and we'll hold it here for 10 seconds. Without moving your pelvis or your chest, let's switch our effort. Try to lift your foot from the floor, turning or trying to turn the thigh forward, squeezing the side hip stuff. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Stay where you are and relax. If you have to move out of position because of a cramp, it's totally fine. Do what you got to do and then come back when you're ready. If you feel safe, add more stretch. It's usually a result of pails rails as we feel a reduction in the strength of the stretch, and it gives us ability to move a little bit farther. Second round. Breathe in. Create body tension. Press down. Build up your effort. This time, find something a little stronger, maybe around 70% of your maximum. Hold strong. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Give me rails effort, trying to lift your foot as if you're turning your thigh forwards. You can picture a scale under your foot here. Make it as light as you're willing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay where you are and relax. Assess the stretch and adjust into more if that's an option for you. We're going to move into our passive range holds now. So we're going to go for 3 reps, 5 seconds apiece, which begin here in the position of stretch. So take a breath in, create body tension, develop a strong effort to lift your foot. Feel what that effort is like. Hold on to that effort as you shift your pelvis away from the stretch until your foot barely clears the floor, and we're going to hold it at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set your foot down and reset your pelvis back into position. You got 2 more. Deep stretch here. Breathe in. Irradiate and attempt to lift your foot. Slowly shift the pelvis and clear the floor as early as possible. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set down. We have 1 more, and remember on this next one, once you set your foot down, please keep your pelvis and body in position. Breathe in. Develop your lifting efforts. Shift your pelvis forwards. Clear the floor and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set down. Keep your pelvis in position. We're going to go into 10 lift-offs from here. Hands can be anywhere that you feel good. We're just going to turn that outside thigh and lift the foot up. 1 and down. 2 and down. 3, 4, 5. Squeeze a little bit higher each time. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, let's shift back to our other side of 90-90. We're going to work on some stretches, pails, rails, and passive range holds on our forward leg. So, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Come back. We forgot something. I forgot something. So we're going to be doing turns and rotations of the spine. Caroline's like, come on, buddy, get your stuff together. So we're going to be leaning forward, belly over knee, chest up and away until we feel a little hip stretch on the left. Then we're going to reach the right hand underneath the left arm until we find our limit of spine rotation. Breathe in this position. And then rotate as far as you can the other way. Turn the thumb back, stretch the chest. We're going to do 5 of these, so go for 4 more. Do what feels right. Remember to be gentle on your back here. It can be easy, I speak from experience, to be like, oh, the stretch feels good, let me just crank into it. And then you get out, you're like, uh-oh, something bad has happened. I've taken it too far. Remember to breathe. I've got about 1 more, but can't really be sure. All right, so let's go back to the opposite side of 90-90. We're going to do just 1 more sequence here on either side. So for this sequence, we're going to be working on the front hip instead of the back hip. If you are needing a yoga block for accommodation, you're still going to sit the block under your forward hip. So in this case, it's your right hip. Now, if you are sitting on a yoga block, you might find that your knee is off the floor. If you'd like to support your knee, put a second yoga block under the outside of your knee here. For everybody else, we're going to move into a stretch by pitching the chest forward over that shin. We should find the stretch in our right glute. And similar to the opposite hip, we're going to do a couple tails rails here. So find your stretch and breathe for a moment. Now for this stretch, we're stretching into a lot more superficial or soft tissues around the hip joint. So we're going to let you push down in whatever way works best for you. So for some people, if you try right now with a light effort, push down only at your foot, you're going to feel a certain amount of hip stuff contract. If you try pushing down at the center of your shin, the contraction will change. If you push down only at your knee, the contraction changes again. Of the 3 places to apply downward pressure, I want you to choose the spot where you feel the most hip stuff engaging. Whatever spot that is, you're going to use the same point as an effort to lift when we do rails. So, establish your stretch, breathe in. At the spot that's right for you, start pushing down. Develop that effort light, and then medium, maybe somewhere around 50 or 60%. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, same spot, try to lift up as if you're making the leg light on the floor. You should feel your inner thigh and adductor muscles here kicking on. Hands might feel heavier, that's totally normal. 3, 2, 1, relax. Assess your stretch and adjust into more if that's an option for you. We're going to do 1 more, breathe in. Same place, start pushing down, lightly at first. Slowly building up your effort. This time we want something medium strong, maybe 60 to 70%. Hold here, 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Same spot, try to lift up as hard as you're willing. Squeeze that inner thigh and make your shin feel light on the ground. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. We're going to work on the same leg from a slightly different position. We're changing positions just to make this accessible to everyone here in class today. So what you're going to do is you've got your 90-90, and you're just going to keep your body parallel to your trailing hip and come down to your elbow. From this position, we're going to be using our hand to scoop our foot up, and we'll do the passive range holds from here. So you just got to be able to reach your ankle. So if you need to bring your chest forward a bit, that's totally cool. So with your front leg relaxed, we're going to take our foot and lift it up until it doesn't go any higher. In this position, we'll engage a rails effort. So we're going to try to lift our foot off of our hand, as if we're pulling our ankle toward our face. That's your effort. You're going to build that up pretty strong. Hold on to that effort and very slowly lower your hands until you're holding your leg up on its own, at which point we hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we set it all the way down. Let's do 2 more. Grab your foot, pry it up as high as it goes, Take a breath in, irradiate and try to lift, develop the effort, remove the support, and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and set down. On your last rep here, I want you to watch your foot and hand as you're lowering your hand. And I want you to try as hard as you can, or as hard as you safely can, to not let your foot go down. That intention of really working within the gap makes this extra spicy. So we're here, laser focus on the foot, breathe in, try to hold the position as you lower the hand. Once you are clear, 5-second hold. 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower down. Stay here, we're lifting off 10 times. So you're just still on your elbow, you can squeeze your hands together or put one hand on your kneecap, whatever you prefer, and we're going to turn the thigh out to lift the foot up and down. Number 2, and down. Try not to move your kneecap, just lift your foot. 3, and down. 4, and down. 5, and down. 6, 7, 8, 9, the last one, and 10. Whoa. To switch sides, we can either stay on the elbow if we're more comfortable or come up to the hand. We're going to open the knees apart, keeping the right knee on the floor, and we'll do 10 of these. Knee up and knee down. Hands can go anywhere you're comfortable. Your main objective is to get as much distance between your knees as possible without losing contact of right knee on the floor. If you're holding pace with me, we've got about 5 or 6 left. All right. The last one, you're just going to take that all the way across. We're going to run the same sequence over here. So your left leg is now your forward leg. Once again, if you're using yoga blocks, set yourself up. Yoga block under the hip and under the outside of the knee. If you're in position, we're going to pull that belly button forward over the knee, keep the chest going up and forward until we find a left glute or left hip stretch. Take some time to adjust that stretch and find the spot that's best for you. Turning your belly button and belt slightly left or right will change the stretch. Once you're settled into position, we're going to do a couple pails and rails. So, without moving your body, start pushing a little bit at your ankle and observe what you feel in your hip. Now let's try to push at mid-shin and see how that feels different. And we'll push at the knee only. And of those 3 pressure points, decide which one contracted the most hip stuff for you and choose that spot. At that spot, start pushing down harder. For me, it's mid-shin. That's what feels best for me. Push down more and more and more until you achieve a middle effort of about 50 or 60%. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rails. Try to lift up at the same spot. Hands should be heavy and the legs should feel lighter. Squeeze the inner thigh tissue in here. 3, 2, stay where you are and relax. Assess the sensation of stretch and adjust if possible. Number 2, hold your body position and press down again. 20% and ramping up. 30, 40, 50. This time we're going to try and find something in the neighborhood of 70. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch your effort, try to lift. Squeeze that inner thigh. Make your shin feel light and your hands feel heavy. 4, 3, 2, 1. Ramp down and relax. All right, coming over to your elbow. Something I should have mentioned last time, if you really struggle to operate in this side lying 90-90, you'll have a little bit more room to move if you take your other leg and you just straighten it out. That tips your pelvis over a little bit more, makes it easier to work on this leg. So we're gonna go 3 passive range holds for 5 seconds apiece. Position yourself so you can reach your ankle or foot, and scoop your foot up as high as it goes. From here, remember the goal is to lower the hand and try not to lower the foot. So breathe in, irradiate, slowly drop that support, try your best to hold position. Once you're clear, we're holding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly set down. Scoop it up again. Pay close attention to that gap from here to wherever it is you hold up by yourself. Breath in, irradiates, try to lift, slowly remove the support. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and float it down. One more time. Scoop, breathe, irradiates, clear and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, hold position as you lower the foot, and we're gonna lift 10 times. 1, and down. 2, 3, 4, nothing moves but your foot and thigh. 5, 6, 7, 8, it's getting harder. 9, last one, squeeze it. 10. Oh, gnarly, right? Okay, last thing to do is some of these trailing hip hinges so you can sit up taller if you prefer. We're gonna open and shut 10 times. Hands can be anywhere you're comfortable. Typically leaning back is a little easier. Sitting taller is a little more difficult. After this, we're going to take another look at segmented spine motion. And we'll be using a half kneeling base position. I'm going to do a couple more of these because I have not been counting. Just going to make sure I get 10. Alright, so we're actually going to be working on more Jefferson curl variations out of this half kneel. Hang on a second. So half kneel changes the way our pelvis can contribute to the Jefferson curl. So go ahead and take a knee. It doesn't really matter which side you start with. You don't have to be exactly the same as me. But when we're in a half kneel, one hip is in a position of extension and one hip is in a position of flexion. So that means the available pelvic tilt is limited by either hip. So we're going to do the same pretty much exercise that we did here, folding down and reaching up. It's just going to feel different because of our base, and when we reach up, we're actually going to try to arch and reach up and behind with our arms. So, from your current half kneel, feel that you can tip your belt buckle up and down. Try tipping that pelvis back and forth, right? We got some available motion here. Belt can go up and belt can go down. Now, I suggest that you take your stance slightly wide to leave room for your arms as you reach down. And begin up top. Segmentally flex your spine, just like the wall peel or Jefferson curl. And we might feel some hip stretch. And we're going to reach as low as we can, folding ourselves down. Bend your elbows so you don't run into the floor. Now, segmentally reset so your spine stays curled as your pelvis goes to level. And then you're going to segmentally arch your spine in the low back and then the mid back. Once your entire spine is arched, so we're kind of showing our chest to the ceiling, we're going to just take both hands and reach diagonally up and back. Hold and breathe. Bring the arms back in. We're going to do just one more. Neck first from here. Shoulders, chest. Middle body, stomach, pelvis as we try to fold our shoulders to the floor. Breathe. Come on up. Arch your lower spine, arch your middle spine, open your chest, and then reach your arms. Breathe. Come on out. Now we're going to stay on this side here for a second. You might want to grab a yoga block. This will make things a little easier if you have one. We're going to do diagonal stretches. So we got a half kneel, and a diagonal stretch is simply the arch of our spine with the addition of rotation of the spine. So spine extension and rotation. The goal here is to get a stretch on the hip that spreads up into the belly. And so what you're going to do is whatever leg is forward, that's the direction you're turning towards. And that arm is going to reach for your foot and heel back here. Now I understand that some people can't touch their foot from this half kneel, so that's why you're going to use a yoga block if you can't reach your foot. So the mistake I often see with this position is people keep their upper spine rounded as they try to come over and back. We want the entire spine arching if possible. So if you cannot reach your foot, use a yoga block as an arm extender and use the right situation of yoga block so that you can just reach your heel and get a little support off your foot. All right? So we're going to do this 3 times. Let's try to be specific and segmental. Start in the square half kneeling position. Tip your belt buckle up. Slide your belly button back, your ribs back, your chest back. Then turn your shoulders toward that forward leg, and now reach down for your heel. If you can get the heel, hold and breathe. Then we're going to come back and out of position. Try to be segmental. Belt tips up, spine arches, and then rotates before the hand reaches for the foot. Breathe. Go for a third when you're ready. All right. We're going to move to the opposite half kneel here. Now we're going to begin again with our Jefferson curls. So, remember this half kneel position should be a little bit wide to leave us room for our arms. We're going to start by segmentally rounding the spine, and then tipping the pelvis, reaching your elbows down for the floor, go as low as you can. Now, if your spine doesn't tolerate extension well, you don't have to come into extension here. So as you come up, you can just come up straight. If you feel good about arching, just arch your back all the way, and then reach your shoulders back. Breathing here before starting for a couple more. Rounding upper, middle, lower spine. Bring those elbows low to the floor, curling your back. Reversing the direction, uncurling, arching if you feel okay with that, reaching your shoulders. So if you didn't feel good arching, you could potentially just reach straight up, and that would be cool too. Go for one more. When you finish, we're going to move to our diagonal stretches on this side. So we have the same half kneeling base, a yoga block if you had trouble reaching your foot before. The process is first belt up, then spine extension, then rotation toward the front leg, finally reaching for the foot and taking a breath. Then coming out of position, back to center. We'll do 2 more if it feels all right. Belt up, spine arch, rotate, and reach. Breathe once you're there. One more if you're up for it. Okay. We're going to start moving into the last phase of class here. We're going to explore a little bit more front to back movement of the body, stretching backside, front side, as well as side to side bending. So we'll be using child's pose base position and upper facing dog base position. If you don't tolerate deep knee flexion very well, pay close attention to how you might adjust this first position. So child's pose, normally a base that looks like this, where we have our butt all the way on our heels and our body flattened out to the floor. So if you don't like bending your knees this much, all you got to do is shift yourself forward so your butt's not so low, and then you get a little less pressure in the knees. Even if you do tolerate knee flexion well, shifting forward actually places a little bit more load and stretch into the chest and shoulders. So you may want to experiment with this position as opposed to this position if shoulders are something that you're looking to focus on. One last thought here is that sitting farther back, if it's an option for you, will place more load and stretch in your lower back instead of your upper back. So you can change the nuance of this position depending on which area of your body you want to work on. So wherever you decide to be, the goal is to have the hands as far away from the hips as possible, letting our chest relax into the floor. Relaxing the chest down allows a gentle arching of the upper spine. What I want you to try from this position is rotating your rib cage left and right, as if you're lowering one armpit below the other, and switching and lowering the opposite armpit down. Give me a couple of these to each side. Once you get a couple of those, we're going to plant the hands, lift the butt from the heels, rounding the spine. So in this phase, you should be flexed across your whole spine. And then we're going to drive our pelvis forwards and arch our back with our knees in the floor. How much you arch is up to you. If you're looking for more stretch and tension here, curl your toes and bring your knees off the ground and really try to pull your shoulders back. Now, to go back, we want to be segmental in creating spine flexion. So we're going to start with the chin and then round behind the shoulder blades, in the middle back, lower back, and sit all the way back to the start. All right, I'm going to give you guys about another minute to just slowly flow through these positions. Remember at the start to drop one armpit and then the other, briefly creating that stretch before moving forwards. There's a lot of different ways you can make small adjustments here, so do what feels right for your body. Definitely want to avoid pinching sensations in the spine if you feel them. It simply means you moved a little bit too far at that spot. Feel free to change the distance between hands and knees as you feel things changing. And even hands closer to each other or farther apart from each other will also change this. Why don't you do one more from wherever you're at? When you're all set, we're going to stay on the ground. Our next position is going to be more of a quadruped base. like this, and we're gonna work on some ankle cars. So these are non-sighted ankle cars, having to just feel instead of see what's happening. So we're gonna pick a leg and we're gonna lift that foot from the floor. We're gonna keep trying to close the knee angle there and just circle the big toe around. So I'm just taking my left foot round and round, trying to hold the same distance between my heel and my butt. Switch directions. And relax that side and go for the other side. Pull heel to butt, circle your big toe. Switch directions. And relax. All right, we got a couple things left. We're gonna come back to our child's pose for this one. We're gonna be doing side bends from child's pose with shoulder cars. And after that, we're gonna do some foot specific work. So watch this first round so you know what's going on, and then you can start. It's gonna be for time, just like our other stuff. So viewed from the front here, we're gonna go into child's pose and keep our hips anchored where we start. And we're gonna walk our arms over. The farther you walk, the more side body stretch you're gonna notice here. Your head does not have to be all the way on the floor. Once you find a side body stretch that feels pretty good, we're gonna work on that arm. So if I'm bending to my right, it's my left side that feels stretched. So I'm going to use my right arm as an anchor, make a fist with my left, lift, and proceed into shoulder car. Just one. All the way to the hip and all the way back. And then we'll walk to the other side and repeat. So I'm going to give us about 90 seconds to just keep working left and right. Alternate back and forth with every rep, doing about one shoulder car on each side. If this feels pretty accessible to you, I suggest you try to walk it farther to the left and to the right as you go through the set. Try to maintain steady and even breathing. Holding our breath just makes our body fight us a little bit more. From wherever you are, let's finish off so we get the same number on each side. And I understand I'm past my hour, so if you gotta go ahead. But if you want to stay around, we're gonna do a couple things for our feet. You'll need a place to sit for this. We got 2 foot exercises to do on each side. So, grab a place to sit, and you're gonna want to be able to cross one ankle over the other knee. So we're just going to do 2 simple things here. This is mobility targeting the bones and joints inside our foot as opposed to the ankle itself. So the foot needs to twist and rotate relative to the heel bone. So I've got my right leg crossed. So I'm going to use my left hand to cup my heel. Thumb on one side of the ankle, fingers on the other side of the ankle. With my right hand, I'm going to reach down from the top side of my foot and kind of pincer grip my forefoot or ball of foot. Now all we're going to do is just rotate those two sections in opposite directions. So twisting the heel down and the foot up, and then switching. You can always change your grip too if it feels better to change it a little bit. But there's not a whole ton of movement, but there is movement happening between the heel and the ankle, heel and the forefoot. You have more bones in your foot and ankle than you do your spine, so there's a lot to be had here. Just twisting back and forth for about another 30 seconds. Okay, now for the next one, we're going to kind of roll the dough. We're going to take our hands like this and squish the forefoot from side to side, as if we're trying to get the ball of the big toe to touch the ball of the pinky toe. And then you're just going to kind of give it one of these back and forth to just distort the foot as you twist and smush the bones of the forefoot. Now, obviously, toe cars is always a good idea too, all those little toe drills we've done in the past. But if we just want a little bit of passive help, these two are really nice options for the feet. All right, let's just give it a couple ankle cars in each direction. Switch sides. So those two exercises are really focused on getting the bones of the foot to play better together, and when you kind of integrate that motion with an ankle car. Try the other side, same deal. So we're going to use the opposite hand to cup the heel, same side hand to pinch the forefoot, and we're twisting them in opposite directions. Just rotating back and forth. See if you can pick up on the motion of your heel bone. It actually does move relative to your two ankle bones. It's very small, but look for that. Maybe a couple more each way. And we're going to roll the dough. So we're going to pinch the forefoot from either side, squishing the big toe, pinky toe together, and just rolling and mashing that back and forth. Let that rolling force twist your foot as well, so you'll feel some of this in your ankle too. This is a pretty short sequence, but giving it a few minutes for each of these will make a big difference in how your feet feel. Now we're just going to go around a couple ankle cars each way. And then finally, if you want, we can go a little squish and open on both feet. I'm just putting my one foot up so you can see, but you can leave your feet in the ground. I'm just out of frame with them down here. But just trying to close the toes and open the toes. Close and open a few times. I highly recommend this combination of active and passive inputs of the foot and ankle. So some things where we manipulate with our hands, those passive inputs, and others where we're moving our own foot. But if feet are an area, ankles are an area you want to improve, my suggestion is to work these for several minutes each instead of worrying about reps. Do it all on one side and then get up and walk around and see how the one foot and ankle feels compared to the opposite. It's going to be very illuminating as to how much we can affect the way our feet and ankles feel. That's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for tuning in for the Sunday spine recovery, whatever you want to call it day. I hope you guys had a good time with this more gentle class. Let me know if you got questions. If you're heading out, have a great weekend.